And Djokovic, very much an up-and-up player at the moment after the question marks that were asked about him at the start of the year. Really found a rich vein of form. So it should be relatively straightforward for the Serbinator. Let's find out. Barry and Mark, versatile as they are, have switched their positions and now have their focus fully on this match.
Thank you, Marcus. We'll, of course, keep you updated with the scores on the Del Potro match, if you haven't elected to stay with it. Versatility, of course, is Marcus's middle name, if you've seen him present other sports.
And when you're fresh from winning a title and you've had a bye, almost the perfect opponent for Djokovic. If he plays 75%, it'll be a comfortable afternoon for him, as long as he applies himself mentally, which is always the case with the Serb.
First game.
Any danger that getting here a little later because of the tournament, because of the conditions? But I mean, opening game would suggest that he looks fairly comfortable.
Obviously, it can be extremely difficult when you have won a title, as he did on Sunday, and you come to totally different conditions and a bit of altitude. But you know, Djokovic is on a mission at the moment, and he will apply himself. He won't underestimate his opponent, and it might take him a while to get into the rhythm that he's really had the last 4 events. And I just see it as the perfect preparation for tougher tests later on in the tournament.
Just quickly, can let you know that Wawrinka reeled off 4 straight games from 4-2 down in that opening set to steal it against the Frenchman, 6-4. He's 1-love up also on serve in the second set. And Seppi set up against Sam Querrey from the United States, and Seppi up 2-1 in that second set. Thomas Burdick, meanwhile, has got the trainer out. He's got too many problems, you feel, today to deal with. He's got a thigh problem, and he's got an opponent problem.
An excuses problem.
Well, he's got the excuse now, hasn't he? He needed one, to be fair. It's a tough proposition today for Hernandez. He's giving up almost a decade in age. 31 to 21. And he's almost giving up his opening service game. This has been a woeful start. On the flip side of that, the ideal one for Djokovic.
Djokovic leads 2-love.
And how much is that his nerves, and how much of it is pressure that you know that you're playing an informed player and you've got to come out here and play your best?
Yeah, very much the latter. And that's where the best players are. The reason they are the best players, even early in the tournament, they realise that they have an aura, the locker room power, as I call it. And that's why the start's so important. So many times you see him get a break in the very first game.
I mean, Djokovic has hit the ground running on the clay. I mean, he looked like a different person in Monte Carlo.
Well, I felt it started in Miami. But I think it's quite relevant, you know, we've just seen Burdick play, that he has built on the momentum. He didn't start in the greatest form in Miami, but he felt more relaxed. But if they just have one good match or one good tournament, they're not satisfied. They're able to build on that. And he's getting better and better.
You can't get any better than that. That is perfection personified by Djokovic.
49.
What a magnificent start. Well, we'd love it to be competitive, but also you can enjoy watching a player play at his very best. Djokovic, 3-love. So Djokovic continuing where he left off last week. It may have been the sweetest moment for him in terms of winning in his home country and his own tournament, saving himself a bit of prize money that he had to give to somebody else, but surely still the most important bit of silverware he has was won in Melbourne.
Gilde 7, 15-love.
Good play from Hernandez. Sort of tactics you see a lot from the Spanish players. The kick serve out wide and then the off forehand.
That's a tremendous return off the reach, and he, like Nadal and Murray, has got that ability, hasn't he, when he's really stretched to the limit to find a great length with the return. But Costa, as ever courtside these days when one of the Spanish players is on court.
So he's watching all day, every day.
Which is why they have such a quick turnaround of kick-the-tins.
And Marcus Roy, Hernandez's coach, in front of Costa. Bit of sign language there, I think.
40-31.
Born and lives in Barcelona, Hernandez. Never been to the final of a tour event.
He's a product of the great Spanish system, isn't he, Hernandez? Not necessarily the best tennis player, but you know, has done really well to achieve what he has done.
Absolutely. Needs to get a game on the board just to feel as though he belongs. Oh, that's vintage Djokovic.
Well, Nadal's up later on this court, but even Nadal would have been pleased with the way Djokovic has played the opening 3 and a bit games. This is right out the top drawer.
Oh! Well, that's off the top shelf.
No, you got to feel for Hernandez. He's coming on a good approach. Djokovic is something else, isn't he, on that stretch, on that backhand.
Well, at least he's human. Things didn't look quite so cordial between Djokovic and Marian Vida in the Indian Wells, but things coming together nicely now for that partnership. It's the one partnership that has changed for Djokovic recently has been his fitness coach. Hooked up with Thomas Muster's old fitness coach, who clearly knows a thing or two about getting players in shape. Gebhard Phil Gritsch. Hernandez, who in some ways needs to morph into Pete Sampras. Produces a wonderful serve to stay competitive, and I don't think they could have done that much work in the time since he's actually hired him. I mean, clearly a few things have changed, and Djokovic won't go into specifics, but the bottom line for me is it's been a mindset change for him.
I found it quite interesting as well how open he's been, Djokovic, at the start of this year about his troubles and the racket change, and in many ways that has probably helped him to be able to overcome the loss of confidence that affected him certainly at the beginning of the year, but also the last 4 or 5 months of 2008. Now, I know he won the Masters Cup, but he didn't play his best tennis there.
Well, a great atmosphere on court today, and we should give that its due, because we've been fairly critical of how quiet it's been in the opening couple of days. The Spanish fans making themselves heard.
O Hernandez.
All the plaudits to Hernandez there for hanging on to that service game. He was under pressure once again, but he'll breathe a sigh of relief. Now comes the tough part.
Now, with his confidence returning, he's starting to use that play more and more now. It was something we saw so much from Djokovic at the beginning of last year.
Yeah, I mean, his control's come back. I mean, again, whether it's got used to the racket or he's just enjoying it more on the clay, but he's got players behind the baseline. They're feeling the pressure of the length of his shots, the accuracy. So he's got a little bit more room to play with in the forecourt.
In many ways, you've got to feel for Hernandez, because all he is really here is a hitting partner for Djokovic.
Yeah, but if Djokovic comes down a little bit in his level of play, I think he's hitting the ball well enough. His result against Ferrer last week would suggest that he's capable of giving the serve at least a match. Thomas Berdyk's decided that he's had enough. 6-2, 4-1 down. That's a double break in the second set, and his thigh's got seriously bad now.
Did you say his thigh or his eye?
Going to need some arnica cream for all that bruising that he's been taking. impressive from Del Potro. It's been impressive from Djokovic. You get the sense that this week is getting some momentum now, some traction from the top players. Federer had a potentially difficult opening match and he came through it pretty much unscathed as well.
Djokovic leads 4-1.
Djokovic 4-1. So Hernandez struggling a little bit in this match, has had sort of a typical year for him in some respects. Quarterfinals in Buenos Aires. He actually had a great win over Almagro there, lost in the quarters to Acasuso. Quarterfinals last week, as we were saying. Machado from Portugal was his first round opponent. He's one to watch potentially for the future. Hernandez coming through 7-5 in the final set there before losing to Paul Capdeville, who made a re-emergence in Estoril. But apart from that, a couple of second rounds and a fair few sprinklings of first rounds for Hernandez. Reached a couple of semis last year. Houston lost to Blake there, and Amersfoort. Djokovic, who's just lost his world #3 ranking, as everybody is aware, but for Hernandez, he actually got his best ever ranking when he was 29 years of age, so he clearly understands the meaning of the word perseverance. 48 he was back in October 2007.
And with that volley, that's why he's had all his results on the clay. Just knock it into the net for the ball boy.
Sam Querrey's just taken the second set against Andreas Seppi. So the American once again proving to be a bit of a handful on the red clay.
And a non-forced error from Hernandez, but that's what he's got to try and do. He's been pummeled, really. The opening 5 games, Djokovic dictating play, so he's having to be a bit more aggressive.
Difficult serve to read that. He throws it way over his left shoulder. Looks as though he's going to hit it, kick her out wide, and with the turn of a wrist finds the line.
That's what he's been doing, isn't it? It's how he held on to his previous service game. And Djokovic moving slightly earlier. Slightly early, and good change-up.
Inch under 6 foot, but making the most of his height at the moment. Another quality serve, setting up the opportunity for the forehand.
Let's first.
Well, a slightly disappointing end to it, but you wouldn't expect Djokovic to necessarily play his complete best in his first round match here, but he's certainly having to strike the ball well just to keep Hernandez quiet.
And that's what I find interesting when you watch the likes of Djokovic and Federer. Certainly those two early on in the tournament. Yes, they're intense. Yes, they have respect for their opponent, but there's almost like a bit of a free spirit about the way they play. They're not wasting sort of unnecessary emotional energy.
All time on court generally. And let's be honest, Novak has got a bit of the free spirit about him. In a good way. It was tight. Was it wide? But whatever it is, it's academic, because he played the next ball and you can't go back and revisit it. You know what? I don't mind those stats from Hernandez. I mean, he has 6 winners and 3 unforced errors. I'll tell you, he's going to be down 5 love, 6 love. He has to go for it. I don't think Hernandez is used to playing on a court with so much run back. He was waiting to see where the back stop was, or the lines person.
He needs all the run back, doesn't he? The shape and the height that Djokovic is getting on his forehand.
Well, it's a little breezy, and maybe that just affecting Djokovic here, but once again, Hernandez's tenacity is causing just a few problems for Djokovic. That's what confidence gives you, the ability to produce your best shot when you need it. Not under a massive amount of pressure, obviously, but still, he wants to keep things nice and easy. Barry Cowan-like on serve, Djokovic. Fun rally to watch, not a fun rally to lose though for Hernandez, and Djokovic takes another step towards claiming this opening set. 5-2. So Djokovic sitting pretty at the moment in this first set. It's turning into be the perfect opening match for him. He's getting a good workout out here. He's having to hit a lot of balls, but he's having to find his rhythm and not having to really panic. But he certainly looks comfortable, Barry, straight away in these conditions. I mean, we've sort of touched on the altitude, and there's a few differing views about it, but certainly it doesn't seem to be affecting Djokovic's strokes at all.
Well, the altitude can be easy if you go into the event confident. If you're not that confident, you lost a few first rounds, oh boy, it can be ugly. I can vouch for that. Because any time you quit on your shot, it's going to sail long. But if you accelerate with a racket, with a real belief, you're going to find the court, which Djokovic has done. You can win a lot of easy points as such.
And that's where he's so great, isn't he? I mean, he's 5-2 up. I mean, there's still, I suppose, a degree of tension in this opening set, but he's looking to the future there with that type of return. He's you know, he wants to make it. He's planning on making it, but you know, he's not just playing it safe, winning the set. Can see he expected better of himself. Fourth straight appearance here in the Madrid 1000. It's feeling a bit strange saying that at the moment because of a seat last year we were in Hamburg.
Yeah, I can't get my head around this kind of the fact that Andy's defending this title.
No.
To me, it's Rafa who's the defending champion.
I agree. I definitely feel as though those should be the stats that we're taking for this particular event, and those other ones indoors on hard should be for Shanghai or consigned to the history book, you know, whatever you want, but yeah, just there's something about it that doesn't sit well. Well, he's doing what he can do. He's affecting the match as much as he's able to do, particularly with his first serve.
Yeah, that's why I've got a lot of respect for someone like Hernandez. Nowhere near the talent as Burdett, but he's hung around here. Hasn't wallowed in his own self-pity.
Well, when you think he turned pro, what, 98? That's pretty much 11 years ago.
15 love.
And 1.3 or 1.4 million dollars, which sounds a lot on paper, but when you think about over 11 years and the expenses, the travel and everything else, it's not a huge amount of money.
In favor. 15 all.
Couple of mistakes from Djokovic. And a little opening now for the Spaniard.
15-7.
He'll want to get his hand out of the door as it closes. sent him the wrong way, but Djokovic himself has only been going the right way in this opening set.
No, he struck his forehand beautifully in this match, Djokovic. .37 minutes, Djokovic with a set point. Second double fault. Sure, that was close to... Wow, that was pretty dramatic. Well, either that's a fairly sturdy frame or he's not quite got the timing of a Safin or a Federer. Or particularly Gonzalez, but it's another set point for Djokovic. Oh, that's a disappointing end. Not for Djokovic, of course. He struggled a little bit there with the sun in his eyes, and he most definitely has the sun on his back. 6-3.
Coming up later today, Rafael Nadal's first appearance of the week in Madrid in front of the Spanish royal family. Jurgen Meltzer is hoping to spoil the party. That match won't be before 3 o'clock, but it will be live right here on Sky Sports 2. We'd love to hear from you in between. Don't forget you can just text the word tennis and your message to 84401, 84401. It'll cost you 25 pence. Network charges may vary. Please, please, please include your name when texting. And the email address is tennis@skysports.com. And we've got a few good ones to go through at the completion of this match, which looks to be going very much the way of Novak Djokovic at the moment. Set to the good against O Hernandez, who was showing just a little bit of frustration towards the end of that first set. And there's another example of the look of the outside courts and that somewhat penal feel that it has at the moment. Just need the greenery to grow up a little bit and provide some colour and atmosphere. But it will happen. You have to give an event some time to bed in, and I'm sure that 12 months from now the magic box and the outside courts will look that much more magical. Hernandez needs to provide a few tricks in this second set if he's to lose in straight sets once again. Now here's this guy who gives his all when hosing the court. He lives for this moment. I think he's called Jose as well. It's pretty poor, wasn't it? But it'll get you in the mood for some more comedy from Barry Cowan and Mark Petchey.
You've got to know when you're beaten. It's the key to comedy. Gags like that.
Second set.
Well, if I had my way, Petch, I'd make Burdick do that.
Second.
2 days of it.
Siéntense rápidamente, por favor.
A little bit of movement behind Hernandez, as you can see from that picture. Allowed to leave with barely a murmur. Oh! Oh, that looked painful.
Ouch. And the one thing that might just save Djokovic is he's incredibly flexible.
Okay, take your time, take your time. And agua. And agua.
I think he did the splits.
Where's Jose?
You okay?
Oh, I tell you what, it wasn't quite as bad from the front as it looked from the back. Oh, I thought both of them had gone.
Do you think?
Well, Djokovic wasn't obviously happy with the playing surface, as you're clearly not going to be when you take a fall like that.
It's really wet. I mean, look what I've done. I mean, after one step.
Well, I think Djokovic is making the sort of demands that at world number 4 you can and get away with. Good luck if you were Hernandez. But as you can see, there'll be a little bit of a delay here while they sweep the court, try and take off some of that sort of wetness.
You know, also an example with that fall from Djokovic, why the players spend so much time in the gym doing leg weights. I mean, if his legs weren't strong here, this could have been a very serious injury for him. Oh, the knee.
Thankfully, he seems to be absolutely fine. The court's had a little bit of attention. And you got the feeling that Jose won't be sprinkling with the same vigour at the next change of sets. Can't for the life of me understand why they're whistling then. That's because they're off to the side. They weren't behind the court. Good time to make a pass.
49.
Don't come any sweeter than that. That's the sort of return he was looking for. He was exploring that option. 5-2 in the opening set.
It's so good to see him make the move forward as well, Djokovic.
Well, that was rough for Hernandez. I mean, you can see because he didn't quite hit that return cleanly, Djokovic, and it ended up dropping in. It's a bit of early pressure on the Spaniard serve. No slip from either man, particularly from Hernandez with the overhead.
Now clearly that Djokovic has been affected by the first point. Just not moving with the same confidence as the first set.
That one got away from him, but thankfully for Hernandez,
Second set.
the opening game didn't get away from him. He got off to, well, to be fair to him, he didn't get off to a slow start. Djokovic got off to a fast start in the opening set, and he did well to stay in contention.
For Hernandez, he's just been under constant pressure from Djokovic, whether it be the first serve from the Serb or the early returns. And the length of his ground shots has returned with the confidence that he's got from winning so many matches of late.
For what it's worth, this is Hernandez's second appearance in the Madrid Masters. I bet he didn't get a bounce like that the other time. Got to the second round as well 2 years ago, but that was courtesy of a bye because he got in as a lucky loser and lost to Ivo Karlovic. Wawrinka's through. Took care of Jeremy Chardy, 7-5 in the second set. Wawrinka, of course, now will take on
15 all.
Martin Del Potro, who came through after Burdick badly injured his thigh. Do you think fitness has been a big problem for Djokovic since winning the Australian Open? Is it the reason why perhaps he hasn't really pushed Roger and Rafa?
No, I don't. I think the real issue that Djokovic has affected him, and arguably the same that affected Pete Sampras when he won his first major all those years back at the US Open. It takes time to adjust to the pressures of being a Grand Slam champion, of the expectation that he put himself under, and also the public. It just takes time. He lost a little bit of confidence. And if you're stressed off the court there, for sure you're going to be stressed on the court. But I've always felt he's too good a player for that to last for too long. And as they say, form temporary, class is permanent.
Djokovic.
Game apiece, second set.
One all.
Djokovic himself saying that he had been thinking about changing his fitness trainer for sort of 5 or 6 months, which I think underlines that as a person he is very naturally loyal. But, there are a few people out there that wouldn't last that long thinking about making a decision of what is quite great significance to a player as well, particularly in tennis where the career is fairly short. Well, Hernandez was taking it right to the extremes of the dimensions of this court.
15 all.
Not quite playing as well as he did at the start of the match, Djokovic.
Well, he didn't need to be that clever, did he, Hernandez? I mean, it all looks entertaining and everything else, but to be fair, he got there with plenty of time to do something a little bit more direct.
He almost bluffed himself, didn't he?
Djokovic struggling again there to move. Of course, he had the issues last year on the grass, didn't he? Felt as though that his shoes perhaps didn't give him quite as much grip. Is there a uniform mould coming in for the grass this year? Always an interesting thing to see the bottom of everybody's shoe. See what modifications, if anything, have been made. And he can go from the most placid of players, can't he, Hernandez, to very temperamental in a brief second. He needs to get it under control here. He's down break points.
30-40.
Couldn't recover the situation in time though, Hernandez. More disappointment for him as Djokovic breaks in the second set, 2-1. Of course, going back to that shoe issue, of course, he complained so much after the Queen's final that he was actually allowed to wear a rival company shoes that he felt gave him better stability on the grass. I don't think he'll be complaining too much about the shoes in this one. I think the surface has been a little bit of a cause for concern for a few people. I'm sure Rafa will come in and make it look as though it's the stickiest court surface that anyone's ever seen. move well on the moon. 2-1 Djokovic with a break.
Ginzeta, 15 love.
A slight miss hit from Hernandez. An important thing for him is it landed in. Djokovic just showing a little bit of variation on his serve, trying a few things out. Looks like he's using the three-quarter serve a bit more. So here comes the ace. But as this week progresses, Petch, it will become a pivotal shot, won't it? That topspin or the kick serve out wide.
No, I think the serve in general is going to be quite pivotal here. I think you hit your spots well, even though it's a clay court. In these types of conditions, you're going to get a lot of success from it. Federer showed that against Söderling. That's a magnificent pass. Djokovic applauds it, as does everybody else inside this stadium.
That's some effort to get the angle that he did off this pass. How far back he is behind the baseline.
So when you see passing shots like that, you realise just how difficult it is to keep coming at players these days. Get into the net, and everyone talks about being aggressive and trying to volley, but it's very difficult to do it on a consistent basis. A couple of tremendous serves. It's another game in the bag for Djokovic.
Djokovic is also in the doubles event this week, playing with Dusan Vemic, and he's on the order of play. Played later against the South African Jeff Coetzee and the Australian Jordan Kerr.
And a suggestion, therefore, that he's feeling pretty good physically.
Love 15.
Many Sam Querrey fans that I know are out there. They're having a momentous game at 4-all in the final set. Him and Andres Seppi. Querrey with break points. He's hasn't been able to convert. They're back at deuce. Of course, the winner of that one certainly looks as though they're going to be playing Djokovic.
So nervous times for Flambeau and Leaf then? Is that what you're saying?
For his many fans, you mean? He's managed to punch a few holes in Djokovic's defences with that particular shot. How was that bounce?
Bit of a Shane Warne spin on this shot.
What a shame. Got himself in a winning position.
I just get the feeling when he shaped up to hit that backhand, he was looking to hit it cross court, changed his mind at the last split seconds. It wasn't really in position.
Deuce. Djokovic.
Court nearly needed another bit of repair work done on it. Desperate times though for the Spaniard.
Deuce.
Vada showing how it should have been done.
Hernandez.
Well, all credit to Hernandez there. He found some wonderful first serves to that ad side to first keep Djokovic at bay and then also to seal that game. He still, though, needs to find a way to break the world number 4. Good crowd in today. It's going to be a crowd with even more importance later on. Queen of Spain expecting to turn up as Rafa takes his cue for the first time. We know who the winner of this match is going to play. It's going to be Andres Seppi. Seppi coming through 6-4 in the final set against the American. Djokovic does win that. That will be a rematch of their meeting last week. in the semi-finals. Djokovic winning that one 6-2 in the final set. So tougher test just around the corner, perhaps, for the world number 4. We were talking about altitude the other day, and Peter Fleming came up with Tehran as one of the places that, you know, to play, to get used to it, that some of the players have done, along with Johannesburg and Mexico. In fact, Hernandez is one of the few players that has been there. He won a challenger title back in 2003. Just wondering whether that will make a good piece for us next year before coming into Madrid. Get Peter Fleming to go to Tehran. Show us what it's like to play at that sort of altitude. Reconnaissance mission. Too many mistakes creeping in to Hernandez's game, in fact to the match, to be honest.
It's almost a case that he's been his own worst enemy after getting to juice, and Djokovic's serve, when he served for the first set, he's sort of imploded, hasn't he, a little bit?
Yes, that's more an explosion rather than an implosion. He's got to go for it in some respects, but right now, just a flurry of unforced errors, just gifting that game to Djokovic.
No, I felt in the opening set, in the early stages, he sort of accepted that Djokovic was the better player, but he would just play his own game. See where that got him. But recently, Djokovic's level has dropped. Like Hernandez has put a bit too much pressure on himself to play great tennis.
Just to have that clarity in the middle of the match is not always the easiest thing. Should feel as though perhaps the volcano is just bubbling at the moment.
Yeah, we might have another collection to our racket breaks.
What's the name of that girl from Ipswich? Jess. Well, this match getting away from Hernandez. I'm sure one of our viewers, Jess from Ipswich, has already hit her red button to watch her favourite player, Gilles Simon. He's in a battle in the opening set. He's 4-3 up. He was a break-up. That's better from Hernandez. Tricia Appa, of course, probably has also hit his red button. He used to manage Andy Murray and is currently managing Gilles Simon. And up incoming British teenager, Dan Evans.
34. 31.
He's pressing the wrong button at the moment, Djokovic.
Yes, you got a sense that at the start of the match he wanted to leave a tennis player's equivalent of a business card on this court, didn't he? With a performance that just made everybody sit up and take notice once again. I feel as though he's going to get through this match, but there's certainly room for improvement, and he's perhaps going to find that in the doubles, as you say. He's going to play later on. Well, he's snapping at Djokovic's heels still, courtesy of some errors from the Serb. Hernandez still down the break, second set, 3-4. Four Masters 1,000 titles to his name, plus of course the Masters Cup that he won last year. Djokovic won a couple in 07 in Miami and Montreal, that famous victory over Federer in Montreal, and in 2008 won Indian Wells. He of course won Rome, and then Shanghai beating Davydenko in the final. One wonders who potentially might stop him here. Of course he's in the top half of the draw. Nadal as ever in that part. Simon's nabbed the opening set against the Italian, 6-3, bit of a fluctuating affair. Did well, good composure. Djokovic perhaps a little disappointed his serve didn't get up a bit higher. See where it came in, almost at the waist height.
Didn't really know what to do with that first volley either, Djokovic.
What should he have done?
Man, he should have dropped it short.
I won't be rushing in to help him. He knew precisely what he was trying to achieve there, though.
This is a great shot from Djokovic. One of the hardest shots to hit, with accuracy and power, when the ball is just almost floating up and you've got to create all your own power, as Djokovic did.
That's incredible defence.
14-15.
Once again, just showing that knack of how to hit the ball back in an effective way that stops the opponent from staying in control of the point.
40-30.
He's giving himself a hard time, playing the 4th best player in the world.
He's got some fire in his belly, hasn't he, Hernandez? And that desire is keeping him competitive. Yet to beat a top tenner in his career, Hernandez. He's played them on 7 occasions. Well, he picked the right option there to finish off the point up at the net.
There was a thought that crossed my mind he was going to go down the line, which is where Hernandez thought he was going. There's no doubt in his mind he was going to win the point with that shot.
Oh, what delicate control when he got there. And he had a little bit of a wheel spin before he got going.
Djokovic, Ghana, single place. Djokovic leads 5-3.
Not quite serene progress through to the 3rd round, but progress all the same. And I think he'll be fairly satisfied with his performance. I have some words about the court surface more than anything else. Hernandez has proved to be a pretty plucky opponent.
Love 15.
At times it's the forehand that's let Hernandez down. Just struggles to generate enough power off that wing.
Seconds, 15 on.
He has anticipated that serve out wide very well. I'm not sure whether he can read it, but more often than not that he's been waiting for it. Well, I'm sure one of Hernandez's goals in his tennis career is to get a win over a top 10 player, but it's not going to be today.
30-14.
Just about to say that sort of summed up the match. Djokovic just one shot better than his opponent more often than not. But he gives the crowd not just a glimpse of his tennis talent, but also his comic appeal. Oh, what a way to save a match point. All credit to Hernandez.
That was great movement back for the smash. I thought it was a winner, and that ball left Djokovic's racket. Djokovic just getting a little frustrated that he's not already off the court.
Simple in the end for Djokovic. But as you could tell from Hernandez's reaction, not happy with the ball bounce. He might well be the only person in this stadium that still believes he's got a chance of winning this match, Hernandez. Outwardly, it certainly looks that way. See all the shadowing of that drop shot that he did after he missed it previously was put to good effect.
Getting down on himself, Hernandez. Nothing wrong he did in this point. Just great play from a great player.
First serve. Let first serve.
Running out of ideas and time, Hernandez. Can't find it. It would have been the perfect end to the match.
That was an entertaining rally. Certainly Djokovic attempted this shot that he would have expected to make it, but it almost puts a little bit too much backspin on the ball.
Hernandez straight back to work. He's been given a reprieve.
Take that. Plenty of intent there from Djokovic. That was almost to say, I've had enough of this game.
Djokovic.
Another error from Hernandez. There's been too many of those in this second set to really allow him any realistic chance of winning the match. And as you can see, this the fourth match point. The number 3 seed here, but the world number 4. Well, he said, looked as though he'd had enough of this game. Well, that's indeed the case, because Djokovic announces his arrival in Madrid with a very competent victory over a wily competitor in Oscar Hernandez. Rafa clearly the man to beat once again on clay, but Djokovic looking in fine fettle.
Hernandez tried his best, but when you're playing Djokovic in the form that the Serb is in at the moment, you're always going to come second best. Djokovic, great start and a great finish, and Djokovic, yet again, you'll see him at the end of the week.
Yeah, has to be every chance of that the way he's playing at the moment. He's got the enjoyment back. We saw a glimpse of that when he couldn't quite engineer the drop shot to take the previous match point. Oscar Hernandez had his moments, but I think he's getting pretty fed up playing Djokovic at the moment. Twice in the space of a few weeks is quite enough. Thank you very much indeed. And hopefully we'll have a little word with the Serbinator in just a few moments' time. Peter Fleming's alongside me. Not a bad first appearance of the week for the world number 4, was it?
Not at all. No, I think he played very well. He'll be pleased with that. You can see very solid behind the first serve, 82%. Won't complain about that. You can see on a clay court, difficult to hit winners, especially against a guy like Hernandez who moves well. Djokovic, of course, moves superbly. I think he'll be thrilled. He'll be pleased with that performance.
So let's have a word without more ado with Novak Djokovic. Congratulations, a very strong start on your latest quest for silverware. How difficult was it to adapt to the new conditions out there?
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I'm quite pleased with the way I've played, even though I wasn't sure how quickly I'm gonna get used to the conditions here. It's a high altitude, quite high for us. You know, especially in this part of the season, you know, you don't get a lot of control. The balls are really flying, so you have to be really careful and try to produce a lot of spin. For service, you know, strong service players, is quite good. I think my service was going, you know, working quite well in the situations when I needed to.
Nasty fall early in the second set. Are you okay? And was it just a case of them overwatering the court at the end of the first set?
Well, I was fortunate enough to fall down on my hand. You know, it was quite dangerous. You know, because it was just you know, half a minute after they watered the court. So I've looked at that part behind the baseline, and I knew that it's wet, but I didn't think that I could you know, trip down. So I was quite lucky.
Yeah, well, hopefully they'll learn from that. And belated congratulations from us on your triumph in Serbia last week. I know that was a very special occasion for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very special win, a very emotional moment for me. I've played 4 matches there. All 4 matches I played in front of you know, around 8,000 people, packed stadium, and I really respect that. And the people come, you know, and show their appreciation and support. And it was an amazing feeling because I never had the opportunity to play an event in front of my crowd.
Well, well done, and best of luck for the rest of the week in Madrid as well.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, he thoroughly enjoyed himself last week, and there's every chance that he'll be close to the silverware again come Sunday afternoon. He's got that relaxed look about him. I was interested, Pete, you were noting the way he reacted when that little drop shot didn't go over on the first of his match points. You said you could never have been like that, but it comes naturally to him, doesn't it?
It does seem it, yeah. He's got a, you know, like certainly Federer and Nadal, he does have a sort of a light way about him on the court. He does see the funny side of things, and I think that helps him. I really do. I think that, you know, he lost a bit of that in 2008. I think that maybe he was feeling a little pressure, and thankfully seems to have gotten it back.
And with these conditions, you know, the altitude that we've spoken about, do you think he'll feel that he's got an even better chance if he gets another go at Rafa?
I think he will, yeah. I think that it will help his serve, help him win a lot of cheap points on his serve. And also, because he's such a consistent player, he is very accurate. Even though off the backhand he hits the ball very flat. I think that the altitude will give him just a little more bite and a little more kick to his shots, and that could be the difference.
Okay, let's just bring you up to date